Hi everyone and welcome to our very first Facebook Live. Tonight we're going to cover all things massage hopefully. So hopefully it'll just be a little introduction to why we massage, what are the benefits, hidden and mechanical effects, things that you need to avoid. These are crucial topics, so you really need to know these before you actually do some massage. And then a little bit of precautions, and then we'll get stuck right into how we massage. We're here at Alba Physiotherapy in Inverness, up in the Highlands, and here we treat people and animals, both small and large animals. So it's one of these hot topics when it comes to our dogs of how do we help them? How do we prevent injuries? What should we be doing after exercise or even hard training or competition? And even right up to our elderly dogs, our older dogs, if they're starting to slow down. We get that quite a lot here where people will notice that the dogs are starting to slow down a bit. And there's so much that you can do to help these dogs and to help your dogs to prevent them from injury, and also to help with things like pain and stiffness, all of these kind of things. So tonight, hopefully, we're going to just focus a little bit about a massage. Massage is just one of many techniques that we use to help our dogs, in particular, to get stronger and to get fitter, but also to heal as well as they can, and most importantly, to make sure that they're not in pain. So lots of folk, while people are just coming on, hi to Kirsty, I can see that from here, my eyesight's not great, and Sammy as well. So tonight, first of all, let's talk about what is massage. So there's lots and lots of different varieties of massage out there, covering things like relaxation effects, right up to kind of sports massage. So the purpose of what you want to use for your dog is crucial. So that will dictate how you'll massage, where you'll massage, what types of massage techniques you'll use, and how often you'll massage. The age of your dog and what kind of individual is your dog. That will also dictate as well what you're going to do for massage. So let's get stuck in. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits. So there's loads of even hidden benefits that come from massage when it's used right. One of them is that it releases endorphins, and endorphins, as we know, is that happy kind of feeling, and our dogs get that as well. So it really helps them to relax, and that has a carryover effect into so many different things. So we'll see dogs that have they're a little bit anxious about certain situations, or they're generally dealing with anxious and anxiety issues, right up to our competitive dogs that are training hard, and more specifically, they're really getting stuck into targeting their training. So it means then that just like ourselves, if you were to have a specific training routine, like a sprint night, for example, if you're in athletics, you're going to have tightness, you're going to have resultant issues in the muscles afterwards in order to cope with that training session. And our dogs are no different. The crucial part with dogs, of course, is that they can go from 0 to 100, just 100% flat out, just as we're looking at them. We tend to be a little bit more measured in that department. So because of that, the majority of dogs that we see are on some level an athlete, whereas we would need to do quite a bit more in a lot of cases to match up to what these guys do. The other considerations that dogs have is that nowadays a lot of our dogs are pretty much asleep for some of the day, and then we get them up and bring them for a big walk as well. So these are kind of things that you can see that the life of a dog has changed quite a bit. It's changed from moving about, being with you all the time, because we're moving about all the time, to maybe being in the house during the day while we're at work, or potentially being in a car or in a van or whatever it is that we bring them to a walk, etc. We have sometimes as well with that with a lot more targeted play. So that we'll have a play session with them. So it'll be full on from this, sleeping to full on play, because we've just come home or the postman's just come to the door or whatever it is. So they'll have that 100% kind of burst activity, and then back down to the sedate as well. So there's a lot of consideration. So having that release of endorphins and that relaxation effect from massage not only will help with blood flow to the area, but it will also help as well to sort of reduce pain and any stiffness and tightness that sometimes the muscles can have. So it really builds up on that. Overall, one of the biggest things that massage can do, especially with patients that we see, is that what we really, the first protocol is to reduce pain. And we think that has some components to actually increase their pain tolerance. So if you have a dog that's injured themselves, they've had intermittent lameness, that could be a slight nod in front or even just not quite right behind, or maybe not stepping under as well. That in itself means that there's something happening in the chain of events throughout the dog that isn't moving as well as it needs to. And that's where massage, when used right, can really come in and help those dogs and help your pets to actually move better, feel better, and stop that compensation mechanism that kicks in really, really quickly with dogs to manage stiffness somewhere so they offload onto the other leg, etc., etc. So that all calms that down. Part of the pain control issue as well is it does, we know, help with sleep. And sleep is a vital component with dogs, as well as humans, to make it as good as it can be to help optimize healing. And that's one of the big impacts of sleep. It reduces heart rate, as you'll hopefully maybe see with Ruby here. And as you can see, with the reduction in heart rate, also her breathing rate's nice and controlled, she's calm, and she's actually quite relaxed tonight. So you can see there that it's all a really nice positive effect on her. So what's the mechanical effect? So these are all things that we kind of can suspect happens. What actually happens? So massage can be brilliant for reducing swelling. So let's take swelling for the first instance. If your dog has had an injury, or even swelling around a joint, some of our dogs have that, especially if they've got something underlying in there. You can use specific types of massage to actually help with that. It can help with muscle soreness, as I mentioned earlier, especially after some activity. So the results in some of our studies don't show that it helps a huge amount, maybe about 30%, but still something. So, and with our humans that we see quite a bit with, that can vary in what people say. So people will report different things with that. Some will report far better, and some report just a little bit of improvement. So massage can help with that. The next thing then as well is it does repair muscles after exercise. I spoke about this earlier. And not only after exercise, but especially after things like competition, or as I said before, your specific training. So this is a real strong point on where massage can really help the dog heal faster, or even provide the best environment for healing, so that they're not getting up the next morning where they are stiffer, or even just having to move that bit more to ease things off. You've already bypassed that, or maybe gone through that stage a little bit better because of specific massage. So there's some of the benefits. There's tons more, but for tonight we're just going to cover that. Of course, if you're in our Highland Wellness Paws Club, you're going to get loads more coming through. So don't worry, this is all going to be starting to filter through on our page as well. Before we get started, some of the real important bits to massage and any hands-on with our dogs is that we know when not to use it as well as when to use it. So one of the strong points that we have, especially as physios, is that we're really particular about knowing limitations of what we're trying to use, how we use it, and what our goal is. And home massage should be no different either. So you really want to know things that you don't treat over. So let's look at a few things. Some of these things will be pretty obvious, hopefully. Some of these things will be really obvious, and some of these things may not. So let's look at one of the first things. One of the first things is if your dog is actually not well. So even if they're slightly unwell, right up to whether they've got an infection, any abscesses, any fever, anything like that, you don't use massage. And the reason for that is pretty much because it has a circulatory effect. So we don't want to make the problem worse. Of course, for any of our dogs that have any of those things, you'll have spoken to a vet anyway beforehand, if not seen a vet, so you'll also probably be told the same thing by your vet as well. So you might not get and you won't get the benefits of massage if they have these things. Second thing that you probably want to watch out for are any acute injuries. Now, I know I mentioned earlier that correct massage can definitely help some injuries, especially sometimes in the acute phase, but definitely when it starts progressing on over a couple of days. However, for the purposes of home massage, the ideal is to get it checked out beforehand, before you start going in there. If you start releasing off muscles, adding a circulatory effect to an area that's had an injury, including bruising, stiffness, sprains, or any of these kind of things, you really want to make sure that you know what the problem is and you know what the aim of the massage is before you actually start implementing it. And the best way to find that out is to speak to your vet or your physio to actually assess your dog and make sure there's nothing else going on in there. Other things that you want to keep an eye on are things like medication. There's certain types of medication out there where it's not such a great idea to massage over, especially at home and yourself. So things like you want to watch out for are things like anticoagulants, so medication that thins the blood, because you've got an increased circulatory effect, it can have an effect on how the effects of your massage. Or if your dog has been on steroids. So these are a few little examples of what's going on. So oftentimes when we start going into the nitty-gritty of our dog's problems, if you do have a history in there, definitely either give us a shout or contact your vet, ask them, do they think that this is a good idea, and they'll be able to give you feedback on that as well. Brilliant. The last thing that I'll cover as well is anything like cysts or tumors or any of those kind of things. A lot of our older dogs do have cysts. They have lumps and bumps and things like that. And we want to be very gingerly over those areas because they can get quite tender and we don't want to increase blood flow oftentimes to those areas. Great. So one of the things that we want to make sure if we're going to massage is that we keep an eye on any areas that have decreased sensitivity. So if you've got, for example, an older dog, or you've got a dog that's had a neurological impairment, or something that the signals aren't getting through as well on the nerves, those dogs you definitely want to speak to somebody about because their sensation won't be 100%. And if their sensation isn't 100%, you might be using tissues and affecting tissue change where it might not exactly help them. So that's where you want to get that advice as well. Any poor circulation, that's another one. Okay, so let's get stuck in. Let's have a look at the dog, and at home you can actually have a feel of your own dog. We do this all the time. You know, the best time usually is, you know, when you're not even realizing you're doing it, oftentimes because you're most relaxed. So when we have a look at our dog, the easiest things to find are bony bits. So that pretty much is the spine running down. You can find the shoulders, here we go, and right down to elbows. So when we look at our dog, and I've got some pictures that have gone up on Facebook with muscles and joints and things like that. Hopefully you'll be able to see some of the bony points. It's super important that we're not massaging bony bits because that gets really sore. And in dogs, they're actually very sensitive and they can get quite sore if you were to go too hard in there. So let's look at Ruby here. So you can feel the elbow here quite easily. And I usually say to people to use this part, if you can see that, this part, so that fleshy part of the fingers and the thumbs as opposed to the top part. So we're not digging in, we're just using a little bit of the pad because you get a lot more feedback through there. And so from there you can feel that muscles go from one bony bit to the other bony bit. So you've got a nice fleshy bit in there, and that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. So that fleshy bit. When you move up the back and up to the shoulder, you'll start feeling the back. Now along the back you've got pointy bits along the spine, and that's where you want to move to the side of that, and you'll get the spinal in muscles as well. Fast asleep, we get the spinal muscles as well. So when we move all the way back, when you move all the way back, you'll start feeling into the hamstrings. Good girl. You'll start feeling into hamstrings and quad muscles. So I'll just turn Ruby around here. Yes, thank you. So let's get Ruby standing so you might be able to see a bit more. I'm woken her up. She's taking a nice stretch there. So you'll see at this point, I know we've got a slightly hairy dog, you'll see at this point that you've got a bony bit here, and that's the equivalent of the knee. And then it transfers up, the hip joint is actually sitting about here, and then you go into the sacroiliac area. You go into the sacroiliac area. So when you go to the bony bits, you're probably not going to get the best and easiest place to massage. You've got these lovely fleshy bits either side, the front of the thigh, curl, and the back of the thigh, and that's an ideal place to start in order to see whether your dog is tight, or even just to get a bit of a relaxation effect in there. We get a lot of tightness in those muscles, like ourselves, in the front of the thigh and in the back of the thigh. So they're the core areas that we're going to focus on tonight. So you have in the front of the shoulder and the back of the shoulder. It's a lot easier to the back. You can find muscle either side of the spine, all the way down the back, and it runs, that one runs parallel, so it just slides down the whole way. And then you'll feel, if you can, the muscles either side of the thigh, and they're a lovely place to start as well, especially with an active dog or an elderly dog that's been moving about or has had to use those muscles quite a bit for stability. Grand. So let's have a look and see. Before we go on, let's have a look and see about sound. 2 seconds. Right, so let's go for a little bit more. So the first thing you want to look at when you're massaging is you want to prepare yourself. So when we go to massage our dog, then what we're looking to do is we really want to center in on ourselves. So if you've had a busy day, or you're quite stressed, or you're running in the door, you've got lots of jobs to do, ideally you want to pick a time where you're as relaxed as your dog can be. So ideally in the evening time can be a nice time. I often find a lot of folk will find, and you'll know yourself, you'll find lumps and bumps sometimes, or tight bits and different things in the evening time. When you're relaxed, you might even be watching telly and your hand is just on your dog and you don't even realize it. So that's a really ideal time to have a nice one-to-one with your dog in order to start your massage. So your first protocol tonight is to find out where would be good to have your session. So a lot of the times I'll say to people to pick an area that you want to use each time, because then your dog gets to know it's not playtime, it's not a different time with mom or dad, it's actually, this is going to be relaxation time. So that's one of the first points. As you can see here, I've picked a nice comfy area. One of Ruby's blankets is on it as well. So this is her area and she was asleep on it already tonight. So this is an ideal sort of place to start, because she's most relaxed and then I'll be most relaxed. One of the big things with massage before we get stuck in is how tense you are. So if you hold any tension through your body, including upper limbs up here, which we often do, especially if you've had a busy day, you have a lot of computer work, driving, stress, we often don't ever fully let go. So this is the first protocol, because it does transfer down into the dog. And then you start getting even white knuckles sometimes, and the dog can feel that, because your dog is really, really sensitive. And one of the things it will always pick up on is how you're feeling. So you want to be as relaxed as you can, and then that will help your dog to relax as well. So from there, ideally, what you want to try and do is find a nice spot. So let's get Ruby to lie down. There you go. She's woken up now. There we go. Right, so from here, I'm just going to shift her over. There we go. So what we want to do is get a nice, easy, relaxed position. So you'll see from me here, I'm moving between being on my knees, I'm moving about to here, sitting down. You can also, if you feel comfortable, if this is too sore to do, you can actually come to the side as well. So you can treat your dog in this position, just whichever is most comfortable for you. Remember, you could be in this position for anything up to 20 minutes to half an hour. Really anything after that is nearly a little bit too much. It does take quite a toll on the dog because they're so sensitive, they pick up quite a bit of sensation. So ideally, have yourself in a really nice position, comfy position, nice and close to your dog. And if you can, before you start, believe it or not, you want to add in some deep breaths because that will really get you centered in and it gets your dog to relax as well. You can even let it all out. So really letting yourself relax into it. Relax the tension in shoulders, elbows, wrists especially, and into the fingers. Because when those fingers start getting pointier, actually starts getting sore. So you want to really let it all relax. So center your breathing and center your thoughts. So it's about at this time you stop thinking about chores, about issues, about conversations that people had, and you start honing in on your dog. You can actually start using really relaxed tones in your voice as well, and anything to do with sort of letting your breath release out. So let's try a little bit of that with Ruby and see if we can get her to relax a bit more. So straight away, she's really relaxed down a lot more with just even me letting go a little bit more and relaxing my shoulders, relaxing the tension in my hand as well, on both hands. I usually say to people at this point, switch that tummy muscle on because you want to protect your back. It can get to the point sometimes where you're sinking down and leaning over. And not only is that hard on your back, it's also hard on them as well. So being nice and relaxed, upright, switch that tummy on will protect your back and get your dog to relax as well. So let's have a look at the first movement that we're going to do. As I said, we're picking out bony bits here. So this is a Rui's elbow, and then this goes up to the shoulder. So between the elbow and the shoulder, you have a lovely tricep muscle in there. This is where you start to get to know your dog quite a bit, of how much muscle your dog has, and if there's any differences between the sides. This is one of the lovely ways in which this hands-on type movement and everything that you're doing can actually help a huge amount because you notice changes. So I always say to owners, don't worry about not knowing exactly what muscle you're treating or how you're doing it. Actually, owners that come into me and tell me that they've noticed a change is super helpful because that change in muscle can often happen well before you have any lameness or any injury that arises. So it really helps to start identifying that. So looking at our first exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to use a technique called effleurage. So it's basically stroking. So you'll probably have heard this if you've done a bit of human massage. You'll actually have heard a little bit. And it's really, really nice to help with these muscles to aid just relaxation. You can also help with a bit of swelling. And you can help with muscles to actually feel better. So you can use different parts of your hands for this. Remember, be as light and as relaxed as you can. That was one of the hardest things, even for human physio as myself, to actually learn how sensitive dogs are. They really pick up on quite a bit. So you want to be really relaxed in that. Again, ideally, we're not holding any tension through the body. We're letting it all relax so that we can transfer in. So we're just going to start with these brush strokes. As you can see, I'm actually brushing away from the heart here. But if she had swelling, I'd brush up the way. Thank you, Ruby. There we go. So I brush down the way. Now, a lot of our dogs, if you've had a dog or your dog has had a problem with their hind legs or their back, they'll often put loads and loads of weight through their front. So these muscles in particular work super hard. The other thing that this affects, if your dog likes to dig or maybe likes to jump, tear around, then this one needs sorted. So we're just doing gentle brush strokes. Now you can see that when I change how much pressure I put through there, I get a reaction from Rui. So Rui's quite happy here, but dogs are brilliant. They will let you know how they're feeling. So this is super important throughout this whole process, that you're watching your dog all the time. So just try these gentle brush strokes. You can see the shoulders relax. Maybe add a deep breath. And work your way through the muscle. Nice and relaxed. You can see my hands here, really relaxed. I'm actually not going that deep. And I'm still feeling a massive therapeutic effect by not having to go that deep. So in a human, we might even go a little bit deeper than that. So if you're used to massaging your partner, or you feel that, when you have those knots, you like when people get stuck in, your dog is different to that. They do need a lot less. So just nice and easy. As I said, you can use part of the hand. So I'm using the palm here. Or you can use the heel of your hand, whichever is most comfortable. So you can see from there, my rhythm changed a little bit, and also the depth of how I pushed through changed a little bit as well. So that comes back to what I said earlier, which is depending on what you're looking for. So if I was looking for a relaxation effect, I would be relatively light through here. But with a sports massage, I sometimes might go a bit deeper. What I usually say to people is start off light. You won't credit how light you have to go with dogs actually to get such a fantastic effect. So we're going to go down the body now a little bit and use our effleurage and stroking. So back to the back. What I like to do throughout the whole of the treatment session, and what I say to people is, keep referring back to relax the shoulders, add the breathing, keep the tummy switched on, and we're not leaning over, we're still nice and relaxed. So we're not leaning on the dog, we're using ourselves to manage ourselves, and we just happen to be transferring a little bit of tension through there to try and get the muscles eased out. So working our way down through the back, girl. We'll then work down to the leg. So we're going to work into that leg, same, stroking and into the actual muscles to really get a nice relaxation effect in there. Now Rui has loads of muscles back here because she's pretty active, and now the eyes are closed. So we've gone from being a little bit awake to eyes closed, but that is her telling me something. So even though it looks like she's asleep, she will be keeping an eye on what I'm doing all the time. So those little points are important in order to make sure that you're staying in tune with your dog. And note these, because they don't tend to give a little lick or even look around, head comes up. All of these things are really important tools to help you gauge how your dog is feeling. Okay, so how much time should you spend in one area? I often get asked this question, and it's a tough question because it depends on your dog. It depends on how much they need, it depends on where their tight bits are, and it depends as well on how much they like. So some dogs aren't very, I'd like to say, touchy-feely. They like you to get in, do your hands on, and leave them be. And what I would say is always work with what they're comfortable with. So when you get to the back, and you have a dog that's reacting like this, then move back to where she was comfortable. And that's absolutely fine to do. So now that Ruby's changed position, I'm going to change position. So you can see now I've changed position into my stroke. There we go. That better? Good. So that stroking effect has quite a big effect here, and now I'm using a little bit more of the heel of my hand in order to get the benefit. Good. So I would probably first suggest that you start off when the ads come on the telly, if you watch telly, do a little bit. And when the ads finish, then give it a break. Because that's probably enough to start with until your dog starts to look for more. Then you know you're on the right track. Okay? Any reactivity or even a little bit of sort of movement from your dog can mean that they're tight in some areas. So listen to them. Pushing against that tightness and trying to work it out or knead it out at this point wouldn't be helpful. Right, let's do our last one, and that's where we're going to do petricide. So we're hanging in there, and let's try and do a little bit on the same area. We're going to do circle work. So you're actually just circling through. This is a little bit harder because the temptation is to squeeze a little bit. The temptation is to get a little bit more tense. So you want to relax this down. So this one in particular is good for active dogs, or maybe dogs that have had an injury or something that's happening. So that's quite a nice one to get in and to get things eased out. So a little bit of a circular motion in order to try and ease those muscles out as much as you can. Good. Well, hopefully that was a bit helpful. This is the first of many, hopefully, on a little bit on massage. We're going to have any questions that you have, just put them in the comments. And if you've got any ideas that you might want to find out a little bit more, then just tag yourself in the comments as well, and we'll send you out some free info on a little bit about massage and a little summary on tonight as well, because there's quite a lot of information there. Good. Any questions? All good? Wow, perfect. So stay tuned, don't forget to comment, let us know that you were here, and even if you want more information, write your name in there and we'll get back to you with some free info on massaging your dog. There's lots of things to think about, but that will be a bit of a whistle-stop tour to give you a good idea of what works for your dog to help them be happy, healthy, and hopefully injury-free.